Welcome to another That's What They Said podcast where we question the questionable lyrics of your favorite songs. Sarina and Scott Spinelli talking fantasy remix by Mariah Carey and O.D.B, aka O.D.B Bastard, and a little sprinkle of some P. Diddy. Yeah. That's basically who did this song.
This is one of my favorite songs of all time. I'm not just...
Baby, come on, baby, come on, baby, come on.
It really is. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. I love this song. I mean, just a quick Denver nug off the top, because it didn't have its own Wikipedia page. The original song had its own, and then you had to like go to a subsection.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was ranked by Pitchfork as the #1 song out of 250 songs they ranked of the 1990s.
Yeah, I saw that because I was like, oh, of course Scott picked the remix of this song. I knew it. I love the original song just as much as the remix, if not more. I love it. This is a personal choice. I don't need you to agree with me or not.
No, yes, you do.
Agree.
I get final say on what you like and don't like. You know that. That was the agreement.
The song just it's a banger. And
I just want to say, to be clear, I agree. The original is also great.
It's great. But there's something about the beginning of this song when O.D.B Bastard is like, in New York, in that, like that. I'm just like, oh yeah. So I start talking like him.
It's so funny you say that, because that was one of my first lyrics that I wanted to get to, which was just that, like, that bit. So obviously, you know, he shouts out all those cities, right? But my friend Kent, when we would drive around in his car in high school, obviously the song had come out before then, but we still loved it in high school. The bit we would do was we would sing along to it, but say our own places, like in the area. Is Basking Ridge in the house?
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, so
Millington, are you in the house? You know, like.
I thought about that part too, and I was like, if you were not included in this, I felt like you in your 20s ended up moving to one of those places mentioned.
Yeah.
Man, I'm not mentioning it because I was like in New York, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here in New York, but like everyone moved to New York in their 20s, so it's like, that's what you did.
I also just love like randomly how he throws in Japan too, like
a lot of people may have moved there because of this song.
And so that was the bit we always did. We would see who could come up with like the funniest or most random place in it, like, you know, because Japan is very random. Some of the other stops are sort of make a little bit more sense. But the idea that he threw in Japan, we always thought it'd be like really funny to do that, to be like, you know, whoever could come up with it.
Bali in the house.
Exactly. Somalia, are you in the house? You know? Everybody, you know, like that. Stand up, Czechoslovakia.
Right, Czechoslovakia.
At the time, that was a valid country.
You're right. My Denver nug is that the reason there was a remix was because Mariah wanted to get away from her squeaky queen. She still is a queen. Her squeaky clean image from her ex-husband, who tried to create that for her. She was no.
Adding to that, because yes, you're obviously 100% right, and that is a great nug. I think what's wild about this is that we don't give enough credit, or some people who know do, but I don't think right now, when people listen to that song, they realize how transformative that song was, because not to say that was the first rapper on an R&B song. It wasn't, but it was one of the biggest, certainly one of the biggest, and certainly one of the first really, really big ones, where a squeaky clean singer who now has a history. Everyone now knows of her as like, oh, she does a lot of hip hop stuff, but back then she did not. She grew up listening to Wu-Tang. She likes that stuff. Right. So, you know, if you were an artist, you know what I mean? You grew up listening to hip hop, it would be natural, say you were a great singer, it would be natural for you to want that's what was going on here, right?
Right.
But that whole thing of like rappers, and also on both sides, not just that the squeaky clean wanted it, but that the rapper thought it wasn't lame to do. Like,
yeah, you're right.
That's both sides were not really meeting, and then she basically opened up that world and made it like, oh no, it's totally normal to have Kendrick Lamar appear on a SZA song or whatever, you know what I mean, or whatever. Like,
yeah, that's,
you know what I mean? Like,
part of the. And she did this a ton, by the way, like with Jay-Z, 98 Degrees, Joe, Boyz II Men. I mean, that's where I was like, I mean, Mariah Carey was the biggest thing since sliced bread to me. I loved her, but I was like, yo, these duos, these like collabs she does. I mean, I went down a rabbit hole. I told you, I just watched
First
every
adult
freaking music
crush.
video. Oh, how cute.
And you may wonder, like, what does he mean by adult? That's weird. What I mean by that's what I mean by that is I think my first celebrity crush was a child because I was interested. I really liked I thought
Allison Mack. What was the list?
no, I liked her too. But one of my first, so outside of, I like how you call her Allison.
What's her name? Alec Mack. Oh, Alec Mack.
Alexandra Mack. No, the Lindsay Lohan of The Parent Trap.
Oh, okay. That's
I remember leaving that
adorable.
movie thinking,
Wow, what a difference to
There's two
Mariah
of them.
Carey.
No, that's what I meant, like adult. Like Mariah
Got it.
Carey felt like she was in her, like at the time I was 9, she probably felt like she was, I don't know. But, I mean, when you're that old, when you're 9, someone who's
You have
30
no concept of what
feels like they're
anything
100. Yeah.
like 24 is like, wow, you're almost 100. I'm like,
I may never
yeah.
get to be that old, but I hope I
Yeah.
do one day. You know?
Yes. Our dreams and aspirations are much different then.
Yeah.
I have to just like point out, so the story of the O.D.B remix is on an iHeart.com like website. I'll have to share it. Maybe we could just share this, but it's wild because some of the background to like him getting on this album, the remix, is insane. He wanted 15,000 to rap on the record. At the time, that was a lot of money, but it wasn't for Mariah Carey. Okay, no problem. He showed up 3 hours late. When he got there, it was about 10:30 at night. He had been drinking. He was on the phone when he walked in. He was irate, screaming at some girl on how he's going to kill her. He's going to kick her ass, and then whispering, I love you. Then screaming again. It went on for an hour. Finally comes out, yo, pardon me. This Beyonce is driving me crazy. I need some Moet and Newports before we get into this record. Someone says it's 12:30 at night now, bro. I don't know where we're going to get Moet from. He started yelling at the assistants, calling them white devils, saying, you white devils, y'all ain't want black people to have shit. Then he went out for like an hour. The only thing that they could find were some Heinekens. He was so disgusted, he threw the bottle on the floor. It goes on to say, like, he stayed in studio and he was sleeping and he would like wake up and do like one quick like New York in the house, and then he would go back to bed. He would fall asleep. I mean, this whole situation was not like, hey, let's come into the studio, we'll do it, we'll rock it out, and then you leave. No. He ended up getting an extra 15,000 because he hadn't finished and they wanted more. It's crazy.
Not very respectful of people's time, old dirty bastard.
It was insane. It was insane.
I just want to circle back, by the way. First of all, you had better send me that article as
Please.
soon as we're done recording this. I need to read that whole thing.
It's crazy.
I will send you, because you mentioned the rappers on songs with her.
Mhm.
I made a mix once. Yes, I like to make mixes.
What a surprise. DJ Spin Cycle. Find him.
Of Mariah Carey songs that only her songs that have rappers on them.
Oh,
It is a great mix. I will make it on Spotify for you.
That's great. I would
share it with
appreciate
you.
that.
It's
Okay.
fantastic.
You should link. Can we link those? Like, you usually put the music video, but put.
Oh
the
yeah, sure,
weird
yeah.
story that I just referenced, so that you can get the details, and then put your.
Absolutely.
your
That
remix.
story, by the way, both is shocking and also exactly what I expected.
I didn't even finish. Like, obviously for the timing of this podcast, like, please go and read it. We'll link it in the pod. But I'm like, what the what? But yeah, not surprising at all. And Mariah's like, I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah,
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's great. Just pay him the money. It's fine. Let him sleep. He's tired.
You know,
there's
a part of her that was like, if we had just gotten Raekwon. You know?
Just insane.
Why did I pick the one member of this group that's a lunatic? There's like 90 members of this group. I picked the one guy that's crazy.
Yeah, Wu-Tang. Like, yeah, why don't you want to start like cycling in? Like, they could have each done and like,
tag out, get a new guy.
Oh my gosh. Fantasy was number 1 on the Billboard Top 100. The remix didn't make it, but it was number 1 for 8 weeks, Fantasy. And obviously it became a remix and it became just as popular, I think, when we were listening to stuff.
Well, let me ask you that. Do you think, and you and I don't quite count in this because we grew up listening to both and like a lot of hip hop, but I wondered, and again, I don't know how we'll ever be able to answer this because it didn't chart, but I'm curious right now, in my estimation, if you're going to hear that song anywhere, you hear the rap version of it. I'm wondering though, do you think more people identify? Yeah, do you identify with the rap or do you identify with the Like, what is the more popular version, do you think?
I think the original one, but I also, I think if you go out to a bar, you're probably hearing the remix. But if you're listening to the radio, because I think there's still some song pops up on the radio every now and then.
Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
I think, and then you're hearing the original. I mean, they were both so big. The original,
Yeah.
I mean, that CD was one of my, I think I owned that CD. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean,
Yeah.
Mariah was the best. She was like beautiful. She had great hair. Like
Great voice too, not just some
the voice.
Yeah,
was
I mean,
amazing.
but it wasn't just like some pop star. She was a legitimate.
No, she was.
It
was like her and Celine Dion that were just like back and forth, like spitting out albums all the time with their voices. And I was like, oh, whoa, a lot of music. Yeah.
Can you imagine if Celine Dion had actually done this song with O.D.B? That would have that'd be something. Yeah.
Wow, Canada.
Yeah.
You want to get to the lyrics?
Yes, please. I'd love to.
So we already talked about New York in the house. Yeah. I actually had no idea when he goes, Shailin in the house. What is he like? He goes, Shaolin in the house. I didn't realize that was Staten Island, like short for another word for Staten. I had no idea. I don't even know if I ever said that part.
Yeah, I think that is you just told on yourself that you're not a very big Wu-Tang fan, I gather.
Yeah, no. I mean, I didn't listen to them like you did, but
I'm not obsessed with them, but I just think that what that does is completely cut your credibility off with the people back home, and you're done.
I was definitely in the like, it's like I didn't oh, excuse me. I didn't mess with people. I didn't do that. I was more in the like.
Well, no, in all seriousness though, the Bronx to Staten Island probably felt like it was, the same as the Bronx to Jacksonville back then.
Oh my gosh. If we had like a baseball or like a tournament in Staten Island, like people in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, like we'd and no offense to Staten Island, like Pete Davidson, but like you just don't identify with Staten Island. And then Long Island peeps kind of pretend that they're somehow part of New York. And I'm like, in the
I look at Staten Island the same way I look at like Hoboken or Jersey City. We're both connected by a train line, but we're not really part of New York.
Yeah. Not really. But they think they're a borough. And I
mean,
guess they are.
I think they technically are. And also
take a ferry there.
And they're connected by, isn't there one MTA line that goes out there or something?
I don't even think it does. Maybe
it doesn't. Yeah. I don't know.
That's just made up.
Yeah. I like to tell.
Legend says.
I like to tell untruths.
And maybe there is, and I'm unaware of this because I'm like, the Staten Island ferry. You took the ferry. It's the only way you could get there.
There's some Wu-Tang. That's another thing. Maybe I could send you some, like a starter's guide to Wu-Tang. Because I always find, before we get into the lyrics real quick, I love it when someone like, there's an artist that you haven't come across, right? Or you don't know their catalog that well. And someone's like, you should listen to X. And then you're like, okay, but where do I start? There's 9 albums. Like if someone just said to you, you need to get into Wu-Tang, it's like, all right, first of all, there's X albums, like a handful of them. Plus, every member has at least 6 albums.
Well,
so,
that's
So where do I start? Like, I hate when people just go, "Oh, just listen to it." To what? To where? So, it's a good thing you're friends with DJ Spin Cycle.
Oh, thank God. Yeah. And the thing is, it's funny because when you reference like Wu-Tang, because you do often, I'm just like, I wonder what album that's on. Like, they have so many, and I'm like, I know like 1 song, 2 song, 3 song, and like
part of the reason I got into it was my brother literally had it tattooed on his bicep, which is his upper, not his bicep, it's like his shoulder bicep area. But he eventually realized that was probably not the best look and had sort of papered over it with like a skyscape. But it almost looks now like it's like the bat symbol where it's like shining through almost.
Like,
you can't fully see it, but if you know what you're looking for, it's like the shadow of a Wu-Tang symbol. Like, can you imagine like Commissioner Gordon on the top of the thing looking for Batman, but he uses the wrong symbol, so all 9 members of the Wu-Tang Clan show up. It's like we're here to beat the Joker. No, wrong guy.
Well, I would not have known that had I not exposed myself.
That's a funny little bit there, I guess. Yeah.
Thanks.
Anyway, all right.
Put it down in the house. Yeah. Okay. The funny part is that I forgot that Diddy produced or helped like do the remix, but then when I went back and listened to the song, I was like, oh yeah, there he is. And again, all Diddy does is go, yeah. All he does is that.
Take that.
But the second verse, where Mariah says images of rapture.
Okay, I wrote that exact same thing down. I had no idea that the lyric was images of rapture creep into me slowly. Had no idea that was.
No idea. That's literally what I wrote down. And I just wrote WTF.
And I don't know why I never looked it up either.
Because
I
that's my
should've.
move. I don't look things up, but you used to.
I usually do. I don't know why I didn't for this over the years. This is one of those things. I do think this is a thing of hers, if I'm not mistaken, that she does this a lot where she'll use like, I don't want to say big words because like it's not that rapture is a big word, but she uses a little bit more complicated lyrics than you might
It's
think.
not a word you'd use on a regular basis. The last time I said rapture was like 2 seconds ago, and before that it was never. I don't think I've ever said the word images of rapture.
And especially the phrase images of rapture is like but I believe I don't think I'm making this up, that this is a thing that she's done where she'll use, like, even if you look at albums of hers, like her last 2 albums ago, I think was called The Elusive Chanteuse or something like that. Like she uses words in her songs. Listen for it next time. Like I'm going to look up Heartbreaker while we're up here. And I think, I'm pretty sure it happens in Heartbreaker too, where, she does
she uses like extra syllables in her words.
Yeah, just like slightly more clever words that like are not like she's showing off, and she's using them in the correct way. But let's see. Yeah, go ahead.
Images of rapture are like clouds parting, like it's like that religious sort of scene of like God is.
I imagine that just like she's having this incredible moment with her boyfriend. Oh yeah, it's just so to go back to the Mariah Carey thing, like the big words again. Like but I just keep on coming back incessantly. Again, like incessantly is not a, I mean, I know we all know what that word means, but that's like a complicated word to use in a R&B poppy song. What else did she use in there? Persuade me to relinquish my love.
Oh yeah.
There was another one too. I'm caught up in the midst of you. Again, not to say that these are like, she's like these are such, like, they're not $50 words, but like, those are words you don't see often.
Yeah.
She does that. I'm telling you, listen for it. Next time you listen to her songs, you're going to hear like, oh, there it is. There's a word that like.
That's a Mariah word. Okay.
Yeah.
Images of rapture. Yeah. Did you have, I have a couple more, but do you have lyrics that?
I have 2 more, both from the O.D.B verse. So if you want to do before that, do you want to go O.D.B? Do you have anything other than the O.D.B, or do you want to go?
No, the O.D.B where he goes, me and Mariah go back like babies with pacifiers. I just, it's clever. It's cute.
Oh, I love that. But apparently in an interview, she was saying that like, it's not just like that line. Also, they did either know of each other, and then also they became friends.
Yeah.
Like, so like I always thought it was just like, oh, it's simply rhymes.
But like they go back.
And it also reminds me of just, I love the idea that like other rappers have rhymed Mariah with other things. Like, I think it was in the Honey remix. Let me see what that one was. The lyric is, it's from the second verse with Styles P, where he says, "Don't be a liar. Would you change your attire? Get a farm like Hillshire with a honey like Mariah." And none of those words technically rhyme. They're all like attire, liar, Hillshire. And so you have to say Mariah like you remember the Kennedy family. But it's still like the point though that it's reminiscent of that to me.
What was the other thing? Oh, the other part was where she, this is her lyric, where she's like, jump, let me see you. Oh, no, this is his lyric. Now that I'm reading it, he's like, let me see you do the stump, girl. Let me see you. Let me see you shake your rump. Brothers hit it from the back and front. Let's do it. And I'm like, wow, that escalated real quick.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No wonder why it doesn't get played on regular radio.
Right. Let's do it.
I like the lyric where he says, "I'm a little bit country, I'm a little bit rock and roll," and just leave it to O.D.B to make a sample of a Donnie and Marie Osmond lyric actually work, right? Like the 2 least cool like people that you would ever think to associate with hip hop, fun, ruggedness, that kind of thing, and yet somehow he does it, and it's just like, yeah, it works. This is fun and cool.
But now that you know a little bit of the story of him writing and singing those lyrics in studio, it all makes sense that you're like, what the hell was going on in your head? Like you were on a lot of different things and put it together and it worked. I also just, the end of this remix, it's just like, what are you gonna do when you get out of jail? I'm gonna do a remix.
Yeah.
That's
That
what
was
you're gonna do.
intense.
Like, I would want to eat a nice meal. There'll be a lot of things I'd want to do.
I
But
also did not realize, according to Genius at the very least, that Kelly Price is the one who was singing on that.
yeah, well, whoa, where'd you come from?
I had no idea she was involved in that. She's been on. She's just an R&B singer that you've heard on things, but like she's been on an LL Cool J song. She's been on
Mhm.
Whitney Houston stuff, that kind of thing. But I was just
But
like,
like,
what? Are
why'd you
doing?
save it for like the end, like to ask a question? What are you gonna do when you get out of jail? Like maybe Mariah was like, I wanna move the
I'm
scale,
done.
but
Yeah, yeah, I'm
I'm
done.
not
Yeah.
I'm not enough for this. I had to sit through, O.D.B. And I don't even think she was in the studio. That story that I shared bits of is from like the studio manager. Like Mariah was like on the phone or something, but was staying up to make sure that it got done.
Got
So
done.
she
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
is he done? Is it done? Is it done? And they were like, no, now he's asleep again. Like it's all that's wild. All right, to the music video.
Yep.
Quickly, like I love this music video, and it's funny because I didn't know this, but I recognized that it was at Rye Playland. I don't think I ever put it together before. I've seen the original music video. The remix is basically just adding O.D.B in the beginning and different parts of the music video, the original one. But yeah, it's at Rye Playland, which I used to go to all the time as a kid.
So Rye
And
Playland was out of our range, but I know of Rye Playland. Yeah.
oh, okay. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, there were a few rides, definitely not safe. Like I felt like I was definitely falling out of them. And
Yeah.
I was like, I guess I just hold on a little extra while I'm
Your
screaming.
life. Yeah.
And my mom is like, like that was Rye Playland. For us, because like, yeah, in the Bronx, you would either go to Orchard Beach, which was not necessarily that clean. You didn't really want to go all the way to Brooklyn because that was a very long train ride. It was like the first stop on the D train to the last stop on the D train for people in the Bronx. And so, yeah, you ended up like hopping on a bus that from the Bronx to go to Rye Playland. It would take you there. And then that was like a big day to go to Rye
Oh, I would
Playland.
imagine. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
fantastic.
Sure.
But yeah, so you can't miss the beginning of the.
Yeah.
Were you going to say the beginning of the music video?
That's my favorite part, right?
Right,
Because the
fantastic.
very beginning of the original is with the
Yes.
clown, the welcome to the fantasy. And he dramatically takes his hat and opens it, that kind of thing. And I love that like they kept that little nugget in there for the people who had seen the original. That like it's basically just O.D.B. He tied the clown up behind him,
Gagged
like
him.
Yeah, that whole thing of like, is this guy actually crazy or not? I love that they kept that image going. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that like in the video, it's like, this guy's a loose cannon. Look what he did with this clown,
Yep.
And I just thought that was such a good way to start the video because you're like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And his face just like all up in with his grills, all up in the camera.
So uncomfortably close. Yeah.
I was like, how do you brush your teeth with those things? Like how
I've wondered that also. I just think with this song, it's just like it was such a good combination of like her clean and his grimy sound.
Yeah.
And it just really, yeah.
Perfect marriage.
Perfect. Comes on. Great. I hear that Tom Tom Club sample and I am in, It's just,
Great song. Great song. Yeah. Any final thoughts for you?
That's it for me. Yeah, I got nothing.
Mariah Carey, you're a dream. You're a dream lover. You're a fantasy. You're a remix. You're everything. And we love you. So she's done other music outside of one Christmas song. Just note that, folks.
Yes.
And I'm very excited to hear your playlist. So DJ Spin Cycle, which was Scott's former DJ name in his
not former.
still current used DJ Spin Cycle will place his beautiful remix. You're actually very good at these, putting playlists together. So.
Oh, thank you very much.
So stay tuned for that. That wraps up another episode of That's What They Said. Mariah Carey, Fantasy Remix. And we'll catch you on another time.